Hello everybody, welcome to the History Veteran. Pretty much does what it says on the tin. So today I'm at Kingsdown in Kent. It's just outside the town of Deal. I'm going to pan you around so you can have a quick look at where we were, or where we are in fact. So I'm actually stood on the ranges, or the old ranges at Kingsdown, which were used by the Royal Marines up until 1899, and I believe Deal Shooting Club used them for a short time as well after that. Kingsdown is down there in the distance, and in the far distance you may just be able to make out Ramsgate. There's a little bit of shipping in the channel. One of that ship there is actually inside the Goodwin Sands that has claimed many a ship over the years. Treacherous piece of water. And the cliffs here are pretty much the start of the White Cliffs of Dover. And they carry on just round the headland there, which is actually where the butts would have been for the end of the ranges. And about 8 miles further on is Dover. So this is where the English Channel ends and the North Sea begins. So we're pretty much right on the beginning of the Dover Strait, give or take. It's quite calm today. It is a little bit windy. There's a little bit of sea up, but not too bad. So, why am I here today? So I thought I'd come down to the sea again. I'm an islander, I like the sea. So today's story is about a naval warship during the Second World War by the name of HMS Exmouth. She was ordered in 1931. Her keel was laid down in 1932 and she was commissioned to the Royal Navy in 1934, November 1934 in fact. She weighed almost 1,500 tonnes. And there was some reference to long tons. I'm not too sure what that means. So if anybody knows, could you please let me know in the comments. On the 21st of January 1940, she was due to pick up a ship to be escorted from Aberdeen to Scapa Flow. The ship was the Cyprian Prince, a cargo ship, and she was carrying much needed equipment for Scapa Flow. But prior to this day, HMS Exmouth had already served alongside Hood as an escort while the Hood looked for German naval marauders that were taking out much needed supplies that were brought in by merchant vessels. She was then put on to patrols and escort duties for the western approaches. And it was at that time she found herself just off of Aberdeen, very early in the morning, dark, cold January morning, the 21st must have been, but it was very clear and the sea state was good. She made contact with the Cyprian Prince, who was captained by a Captain Benjamin Wilson, and incidentally the Exmouth was captained by Richard Stoddart Benson, who had also served on HMS Superb during the Battle of Jutland during the First World War. So he was an experienced sailor, this guy. At sometime in the morning, which you can't find reference to, when he signalled the Prince, the Cyprian Prince, he signalled her to follow a speed of 10 knots and a direction of 070 degrees. And many sailors out there will tell you that I think, not being much of a sailor myself, is pretty much north, I think, 00 being north. So they set off into the dark, and at 0444 a large explosion was heard, and the captain of the Cyprian Prince was called to the bridge. I'm sure he probably heard the explosion anyway, And at 0448, a much larger explosion was heard. This is most likely the second torpedo hitting the bow and the forward magazine of HMS Exmouth. Wilson ordered his boat to port to avoid now the upturned hull of Exmouth. They waited there for a few minutes, and some sailors aboard the Cyprian Prince, some merchantmen, said that they could hear voices in the water, up to about 10 men. But following the Defence of Merchant Shipping order from the Admiralty, 0456, Captain Wilson ordered full ahead to clear his ship from the area. Now, the DMS, the Defence of Merchant Shipping, had been in place for a while now, and because it was considered very dangerous for ships to stop where another ship had been torpedoed in case they get torpedoed themselves, in picking up survivors. HMS Exmouth, on the 21st of January 1940, was lost with all hands. She was the first ship in World War II to be lost with all her crew. About 7 to 8 days later, off the coast of Wick, a young schoolboy by the name of Donald Sutherland, who was playing truant, discovered the bodies of 10 sailors that had been washed ashore. I bet he wished he'd stayed in school. And a couple of days after, a further 8 sailors washed ashore. And these were all considered to be from the Exmouth, and they're all buried at Wick Cemetery. And if anyone's up from around that area, you probably know about this story and the graves or the memorial to those sailors. The U-boat that sunk the Exmouth, U-22, which was captained by Karl Heinrich Jenisch, not 2 months later, was also lost with all hands, 27 of her crew, and she's somewhere in the North Sea. It's most likely that she hit a mine off of Norway, but her fate isn't exactly known other than that she was lost, because she never appeared anywhere else. Also, the Cyprian Prince was lost a year later in 1941. She was bombed by the Germans, lost 4 of her crew, and the boat was beached in the end. And I don't think I couldn't find any reference to her being refloated. So I'm pretty certain she was lost. So all three ships, or all 3 boats that were involved in that incident were lost. The crew of the HMS Exmouth, all 189 souls, were lost, and on the 11th of November I'll be giving them a thought, as we will remember them. But she wasn't the first ship lost by the Royal Navy with all hands. That ship was the HMS Victory. Yeah, I had to look twice as well. She was lost in 1744. So she was the predecessor to the HMS Victory, which was launched in 1759, which is now at Portsmouth Naval Base. I believe it was 1759 anyway. Any sailors out, don't shout too hard, you'll only hurt yourself. But she was lost with all 1,100 of her crew off the coast of Jersey in bad weather. And that was the first Royal Naval warship to be lost with all hands, as the Mary Rose, and I'm sure people will tell me in the comments, I don't think she was lost with all hands. I think I did a paper on her for my one of my English qualifications, or an essay on her. I can't remember now, but I'm not sure she was Royal Navy either. I don't think. Someone will tell me when the Royal Navy was invented, but that was the record I found, that it was HMS Victory in 1744 was the first naval ship to be lost with all hands. So, as I've said previously on my videos, I'm trying to do one before Armistice. One about the Air Force, which I've done, one about the Army, which I've done, and one about the Royal Navy, which is today. And I'm going to try and get one about the Merchant Navy out before Remembrance. So, from not such a blowy now, Kingsdown. And a very nice day it is too. If you are enjoying my videos, please like and subscribe if you wish. I really appreciate the comments. So, once again, to the crew of HMS Exmouth, we will remember them. See you soon.